lies unseen beneath the mist. We walk by faith beneath the skies with promises we've kissed. The world is quiet in the haze, no certain sign is shown, but every step in these strange days is never walked alone. There are traces of grace on the roads we travel, footprints that fade where the journey began, a silent strength in the ties that unravel, God's presence moving in the way that we ran. We follow the calling, a beautiful mystery, leaving our mark on the earth and the air. Oh, footprints of grace, a sacred history found in the whispers and found in the prayer. This path unfolds day by slow day. It's day put together. Jack and Parjo before fading.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Footprints of Grace episode number 13, A Mother's Rosary, A Journey of Grace. As we enter the mystery of Good Friday, we remember that the cross is not only a story of suffering. It is a story of love that remains faithful even in the darkest moments. As at the foot of the cross stood Mary, holding in her heart both sorrow and trust, as she watched her son, Jesus Christ, walk the path of sacrifice. Today, allow me to share a personal story, one that helped me understand something about that quiet faith of a mother. In this story of a rosary, a journey through fear, and the grace that carried us safely home. As we approach Good Friday, I sometimes wonder how Mary must have felt as her son walked toward the cross. The Gospel tells us that Mary stood near the cross of Jesus. She watched the suffering of the son she loved. She could not stop it. She could only remain. Whenever I think of that moment, I remember my own mother. There are memories that are too powerful to forget. In 1973, civil war broke out in our region. Villages were burned, communities were fleeing. News of ambushes and killings spread everywhere. Fear was everywhere, fear, panic, and uncertainty. People were escaping to safer towns. I remember the tension in the air. Then the violence came closer. Some of our relatives, neighbors, and friends did not make it to safety. We lost people we loved. One morning, While I was having breakfast with my mother and my sister, we suddenly hear the first salvo of gunfire. It was very near. We dropped to the ground, we crawled, we escaped, we ran. We walked, paused, ran again. That was for 16 kilometers until we reached another town to take refuge. We were not able to bring anything with us. Nothing, except the rosary in my mother's hand. My mother always held the rosary. Every morning at 4 o'clock, she prayed it faithfully. As we ran for our lives, she was quietly praying. I could see her fear, her anxiety, her pain, but she tried to hide her tears from us. Instead, she kept reassuring us. We will make it. We will reach your father and the rest of the family. And all the while, she kept praying. Somehow we survived. After a week of traveling and uncertainty, we finally reached the city were reunited with the rest of the family. Looking back, I often believe that we survived because of my mother's faith, her quiet trust in God, her deep devotion to Mary through the rosary. Years later, my mother died at the age of 87. Not a single day of her life did she forget to pray the rosary. Even when she was unconscious on her deathbed, something extraordinary happened. Every morning at 4 a.m., the fingers of her left hand, the hand she used to hold the rosary, began to move slowly, as if she were praying. Her mind could no longer speak the words, but perhaps her heart still remembered how to pray. That memory remains one of the most powerful sources of strength in my life and ministry. Whenever life becomes so difficult, I remember my mother and the rosary in her hand. I remember John 19:25, love that stands near the cross. In the Passion narrative of John's Gospel, we are told something very simple yet very profound. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother. Mary could not remove the cross. She could not stop the suffering, but she remained. Just as my mother remained in faith during those frightening days of war, Mary remained in love beneath the cross. Sometimes love simply stays, and in staying, love becomes stronger than fear. Good Friday reveals the deepest mystery of love. At the foot of the cross stood Mary, watching the suffering of her Son, Jesus Christ. She could not remove the cross. She could not stop the pain, but she remained there, faithful, trusting, and present. In the Passion narrative of the Gospel of John, Mary becomes a silent witness to a love that refuses to abandon. Whenever I reflect on that moment, I remember my own mother. Her faith was not a faith protected by suffering. It was a faith tested by fear, uncertainty, and the harsh reality of violence. During those days of conflict, when our lives were in danger and we had nothing with us except the rosary in her hand, she did not collapse in despair. Instead, she turned quietly to prayer. She prayed while we walked. She prayed while we fled. She prayed when fear surrounded us. Her prayers did not remove the danger immediately, but it gave us something stronger than fear: hope. Looking back now, I realize that what sustained us during those frightening days was not our strength, but her faith. In the middle of uncertainty, she entrusted our lives to God through the simple prayer of the Rosary. Years later, even as she approached the end of her life, that same faith remained alive within her. When her body could no longer speak and her mind could no longer form words, her fingers still move as if holding the rosary in prayer. It was as though prayer had become part of her being, of her very being. Her faith taught me something that I continue to carry in my life and ministry. True faith is not proven in moments of comfort. It is revealed in moments of trial. My mother's quiet trust reminds me that faith does not always remove the cross, but it gives us the strength to walk through it. And just as Mary reminded at the foot of the cross, my mother remained in prayer, trusting that God would never abandon us. Her faith, born of suffering and sustained through prayer, continues to inspire me today. Whenever I face difficulties in life or in ministry, I remember her hands holding that fragile rosary. And I remember that God's love never fails. Looking back now, I realized that something deeper was happening in those moments of fear and uncertainty. It was not only my mother's strength that carries us through that long journey. It was grace quietly at work. Grace was working through her faith, through that rosary in her trembling hands, through the quiet trust that refused to surrender to fear in ways we could not fully see at the time. God was already guiding our steps, protecting us, sustaining our hope. Often grace works this way, silently, gently, almost unnoticed. It works through the faith of a mother, through a whispered prayer, through a simple trust that God will never abandon His children. And sometimes, years later, we begin to understand that those difficult moments were also moments when grace was shaping our hearts. At the foot of the cross stood Mary. Again, she could not change what was happening to her son. She could not remove the cross, but she remained there in faith. In that silent presence, Mary teaches us one of the deepest lessons of spirituality or spiritual life. God's grace continues to work even when we do not understand what is happening. And when I remember my mother holding that rosary as we fled in fear, I see something similar. She did not know how our story would end. She did not know whether we would reach safety. Yet she continued to pray, entrusting everything to God. In those moments, grace was already at work. Grace was strengthening her heart. Grace was protecting our family. Grace was quietly guiding our steps through danger. And perhaps this is also true to our own lives. Many times we carry crosses we do not understand. Moments of loss, moments of fear, moments of uncertainty, moments of suffering. Yet the cross teaches us that God's grace is never absent. Sometimes grace appears not as a miracle that removes crosses, but as a quiet strength that helps us carry crosses. Like Mary standing beneath the cross, like my mother praying the rosary, we are invited to trust that even in darkest moments, God is already working within our story. Where faith remains, grace quietly begins at work. Today I will remember that faith is not only found in great moments of heroism. Sometimes faith is simply a quiet prayer whispered in darkness, trusting that God is still present. Like Mary, my mother holding that rosary, I will entrust my life and my struggles to God. And so today, we remember between Mary standing in the cross and a mother praying the rosary on a dangerous road, the same truth shines. God never abandons those who trust in Him. So when the world was shaking with fear, a mother held the rosary. When the Son of God was lifted on the cross, a mother stood beneath it. Across generations, across suffering and hope, the same quiet faith remained. Sometimes the strongest love is the love that prays, trusts, and stays. And somewhere between a mother's rosary and Mary's standing at the cross, we discover the secret of the Holy Week of Good Friday. Love never abandons. May the love of Jesus Christ crucified strengthen your heart in moments of fear and uncertainty. May the faith of Mary, who stood faithfully beneath the cross, teach you to trust even when life becomes difficult. May the quiet prayer of the Rosary remind you that God walks with us through every valley and every storm. And may the grace of God, often silent yet always faithful, guide your steps, protect your family, and fill your hearts with hope. May the Lord bless you, keep you in His love, and lead you safely through every cross towards the light of His resurrection. Lord, teach me the faith of a mother who prays, the courage to walk through fear, and the trust to believe that your grace is always at work. This is Father Alex Gubrin. Thank you for joining me. This is Footprints of Grace. God bless. Good night.
A winding road before us lies, unseen beneath the mist. We walk by faith beneath the skies, with promises we've kissed. The world is quiet in the haze, no certain sign is shown. But every step in these strange days is never walked alone. There are traces of grace on the roads we travel, footprints that fade where the journey began. A silent strength in the ties that unravel, God's presence moving in the way that we ran. We follow the calling, a beautiful mystery, leaving our mark on the earth and the air. Oh, footprints of grace, a sacred history found in the whispers and found in the prayer. This path